Firstly, I'd like to congratulate eHealth Queensland, not New South Wales. I'm going to show my colours in a minute. For doing this 2 years in a row, I think it's a wonderful event, and we'll talk a little bit more about what it's involved and what we do here. But it's just an acknowledgement that I think it's really brave for a government department to actually put this out there. So thank you, eHealth Queensland. And with those words, I'd like to welcome Narelle Doss to say a few words on behalf of eHealth Queensland.
Thanks, Greg. As Greg mentioned, my name's Narelle Doss. I'm the Acting Chief Digital Strategy Officer with eHealth Queensland. And I'm super excited to be here this afternoon and super excited to be officially opening our Innovation Jam. I'd like to firstly just acknowledge the traditional owners on the land of which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. As Greg just mentioned, over the last 2 days, we've had about 70 people working together from across not only eHealth, but researchers, startups and consumers, hospital and health services, to come together to work on some pretty unique challenges, though they're not really unique, but hopefully coming up with some great solutions that they're going to pitch for you this afternoon. So I won't hold you up anymore, but I'm really excited to hear the presentations, and I'll hand back to Greg to get us started. Thank you.
Thanks, Narelle. So before I introduce the judges, I'd just like to say a little bit. I just want to get a bit of a sense of the crowd. I can sort of semi-see you, but I just really want to get a sense, and for our teams, who's got a clinical background here? Just put up your hands. Okay, and non-clinical? Right. Hospital and non-hospital services? Okay. From Metro? From regional? Okay, thank you. And lastly, from Queensland? And from New South Wales? I am actually an ex-Queenslander, so I welcomed the result last night, and I thought, thank God for that. It would have been a terrible event if we lost. So, and Mike Walsh has already talked about that today. So, firstly, I'd like to introduce our speakers, our judges, which are a core ingredient of this event, because we're going to have presentations, we're going to have pictures, and these are the people that are making decisions. So, firstly, we've got Narelle Doss, who we've met, representing eHealth Queensland. We have Tamara Mills, who I've had the pleasure to meet a couple of times over the years. She does a lot of work in innovation, and she's the Managing Director of Quantum, Innovation Fund Management. And David Hanson, who is the CEO of Australian eHealth Research Centre, CSIRO, and also he's a chair of HISA, who I know well. So welcome the judges. And just thank you to the supporters and the sponsors of this event. So QUT Foundry, Oracle, Hacking Health Queensland, the Australian Health Accelerator, Quantum, and the Innovation Centre in the Sunshine Coast. Without these sorts of people being involved with their sponsorship, endorsement, and in-kind support, these things just can't happen. Because the innovation is very much a ground-up, bottom-up type activity. You need to collaborate, you need to work across the sector, and these sorts of groups are very important for this to happen. So just a little bit about the Innovation Jam and what I understand about it. Unfortunately, I didn't see the 2 or 3 days before this, but what I know is that we've changed the tone a little bit this year, in the fact that we went out from a Queensland Health perspective and asked for problems, and problems coming back to us to see what can we actually focus on. And those problems were whittled down, and we come up with a set of problems that we asked teams to work on. And the core focus was really around the customer interaction, the customer journey, and how does that actually impact on the way we deliver services to solve that problem. So it's really been changing a mindset, and with that, we have a methodology around design thinking and a whole range of other things that people have put through over the last few days. They may not be aware of these methodologies, so part of the takeaway is about going through a process of actually learning and understanding how you can apply these new ways of doing things into your own service environment and the problems you're dealing with. So what we hope to hear today is some of the benefits of those 2 days. I would really like to call out to everybody to welcome and support the teams when they come up and pitch. It is a stressful 2 days where you basically got a blank canvas to start with. They go through a whole process themselves about you know, the team dynamics of this way or that way. There might be some people who lose sight of where we need to go and they have to come back, and there's a whole process around refining the idea. And that leaves a lot of stress around team dynamics and coming up to an end 4-minute pitch that they're going to have to do. Okay, so these people have been through that. So these 10 teams, I really like to acknowledge that, and as we see them come up, please give them a big hand. I think finally for me is, I think design thinking is becoming more and more embedded in the way we think about digital technology and how we apply it in healthcare. We need to know that there's multiple stakeholders, whether we're working in a clinical environment, whether we're working in a technical environment. We need to think about where all the touch points we're doing to make a service change or an effective change to what we do. And there's also the outside pressures of healthcare coming into the system, and how does that all gel together. So these are the sorts of dynamics we need to actually understand as we're doing these problems. So just a little bit about the final pitch. Each team will be given 4 minutes to present their idea, concept, solution to you. I understand from this year we may see more ideas and concepts because we're dealing with some quite unique problems that weren't coming from a digital solution focus initially. We were looking at the problem from the start and going through. So teams may have different outcomes about where they've got to, but the idea is about the novel approach around what they've come up with. The other part of that is they are going to be told to keep to 4 minutes. So teams, if you haven't been told, you'll be up here, you're doing your presentation, and after 3 minutes and 30 seconds, you'll get the music start. And as it gets closer to 4 minutes, that music is going to get louder. And hopefully by 4 minutes, either you get thrown off the stage or we just can't hear you, okay? So that's the AV guys challenge. But you've been warned. And the other thing is, make sure you know how to use this clicker. It's quite frustrating if you've only got 4 minutes and you're working out which button to press. So just be mindful. Okay. So the awards. So we're obviously going to have a Best Team Award. We're also going to have another award around that best team receiving a boot camp offer to the Australian Healthcare Accelerator. And we'll also have awards for QUT and Oracle providing awards to some of the teams. We'll also have a People's Choice Award, so you will get the opportunity to vote on the best team or the best presentation that you like, one that just connects with you. And we really encourage you to do that. If you haven't downloaded the app, do that. There's the code. And all those voting instructions will be there, which we'll show you. But at the end, we'll actually have this visible. So we'll be asking people to vote while we see the votes going on the screen. So we'd love you to participate. And of course, interact by social. I think we've been through this today a number of times within the sessions, but here's the actual instructions. You've got a LinkedIn or a Twitter thing. You can actually authorise the account, and then you can do a tweet or a LinkedIn post around what you're seeing. Okay, so the first team is Distraction Attack. Distraction Attack, which I think is a very novel name, which... Okay, 4 minutes. Over to you guys. Welcome them to the stage.
Thank you. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Pygram. I'm a registered nurse from the Queensland Children's Hospital. And myself and Katja here today are here to talk to you about paediatric distraction and how we better resource that in our regional areas. So you might ask, what is paediatric distraction? It can be classed as things like clown doctors, arts and crafts, multimedia, iPads, virtual reality, toys, singing, dancing, anything. Katja's now going to tell a story about her experience in hospital.
I want you to imagine this. You're a parent to a young child. Your child is unwell. They have a fever and they're struggling to breathe. And all you want is for them to feel better. You decide that it's time that you need to take them to the hospital, and at the hospital you're told that your child needs an IV. To insert the needle, both you and the medical staff have to pin your child down. It takes 3 attempts to insert the needle, and by the time the needle is inserted, your child is extremely distressed. Even after decades of research, paediatric patients continue to experience unnecessary pain during clinical procedures. As part of this project, we surveyed a number of parents about their experiences at hospital and found that 40% of the time, distraction therapy was not used with their child. It makes you wonder why 40% of children still experience distress. There has been a lot of research on how distraction therapy can improve a child's experience during a medical procedure. Distraction therapy is proven to reduce anxiety and can reduce the amount of pain felt by a child. For example, in a study which uses VR, it was found that participants had significantly lower pulse rates, which indicated a decrease in pain and distress during invasive medical procedures.
So what are some of the challenges that we see rurally and remote? Now, I know there's some participants here today that are from regional areas, and I know myself working in Mount Isa, Alice Springs and Broome, I've seen firsthand the challenges often faced. So things like staff shortages, access to resources, which can be logistically difficult and expensive, and also a lack of knowledge and education opportunities around distraction therapy. So how might we educate and provide cost-effective tools to parents and staff in regional areas for paediatric distraction therapy? Our solution that we came up with, which is not a new one, but it's something that we could centralise, is providing distractional toolkits to regional paediatric units via the Clinical Skills Development Service. How are we going to do this? By designing specified kits, predominantly digital kits, that can be put together by occupational and play therapists, education for parents and staff via an online resource, and also easy ordering service via an online catalogue that is currently existing with the Clinical Skills Development Service. What's in the toolkit? Distraction toys, iPads, tablets, virtual reality solutions, and information on how to use them effectively. So where next? With engagement with our stakeholders, we have learnt so much about the customer needs and also my fellow clinicians. In conjunction with this CSDS, we can partner with them to provide a solution that we can meet all the needs of children requiring distraction therapy in their stay in hospital and regional areas. Over the last 2 days, our journey with the eHealth team and the Innovation Jam has guided us to a practical solution we can implement in a short term. We also love for eHealth Queensland to join us on that journey. We need a digital solution based on research and data collected on the implementation of the toolkit, and we need this to be fed into our digital solution. Let's make the experience better for all paediatric patients. Thank you. That gets loud.
I just have one question.
Sure.
I'm assuming you are going to tailor it to the different age groups. How many different kits do you think you'll need?
So we want to tailor it to the breadth of paediatric patients.
Yep.
So from newborns right through to the age of 18. And in some cases, paediatric patients are considered up to the age of 21 and 25 these days. So we really need to sort of have a look at that in our research in the long term, how we best can cater for all ages.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Easy.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Distraction Attack. Next team is Team Drone.
Hello everybody, my name is Dominique Collette. I'm at Metro North in IT. This is my good friend Floris, who is in my Team Drone team. So as you can see, we're still talking to how might we utilize drones as first responders, because saving minutes saves lives. So, 4 minutes to respond when time's critical. What use case could this be? We thought we could look to asthma. Everybody knows that asthma is comes on quickly, flares up. It can happen slowly, or it can just turn up. It can be mild, it can be severe, it can be life-threatening. So what we're thinking is that we can use drones to help us, because when we rang up Asthma Queensland and we said, how long do you have to respond? They said 4 minutes, or else you're going to be in a very critical situation. Where's the clicker? Oh. Green button, sorry. So just quickly getting some statistics about the size of the problem. So how does it impact Queensland ED? So apparently there was 11,000 admissions, and just as a simple admission cost to ED at $495, you can see what that cost is. And if it's uncomplicated or complicated, the price rises. Asthma affects 1 in 9 people and the quality of life. So we're talking drones. A drone can support the first responder service. It has the potential to downscale a situation faster. Imagine if we could redirect ambulance resources faster. If we could minimize potential ED admissions, we could facilitate better recovery. Drones can get to difficult places and overcome traffic conditions. As you can see in the diagram, drones have many options for things that can be attached to it. We are focusing on delivery first. Oops, can I go back? Yep. So just as a quick sort of like takeaway, an ambulance on average takes 10 minutes to get to a call out, arrival, and there's a sort of estimated cost, and we've sort of done a rough estimate of what could a drone cost and how much faster it could get there. So the drone is the first responder's friend. It's even the friend to the ambulance service. Where am I at? Oh, how this works. So what we're thinking is that we can rely on the existing ambulance network. Now on the right-hand side, you can see that there's a demonstration, and this is a trial that's being run in Texas by an existing company, where it's automatically, the drone flies up and goes out to the person in need. So what we're looking at is that we're sort of saying people are already working on it, so we can leverage from this existing technology. We're thinking, and to let you know, we started looking at regional first, and then we pivoted back to the urban area. So we want to focus on having a proof of concept, a trial, prove it works before spending too much money on investing in it. And the reason we had to step away from regional is because the current technology of drones can't get long distances, but it can work within a sort of quick 4-kilometre area. So what we're looking at is time-critical delivery. So we can easily deliver an asthma puffer, and with respect to the use case, often, oh dear. Often just putting the spacer and being able to drop that actually increases someone's intake of Ventolin from 10% by up to 40%. These were some of the quick benefits. And we can scale to other cohorts, EpiPens, people having cardiac arrest. We can also scale and make sure that our drones are being used when they're not an emergency by leveraging to medication delivery. Next steps, working with partners or doing it ourselves. And our ask is about $40,000 there to run a quick trial to partner up with all these and build a cohort.
I don't care, go on and tear me apart. I don't care.
It works. Thanks for that. So where are you going to run the first pilot trial, and have you looked at incidence of asthma as well as how you plan that?
Well, we would work closely with the Asthma Foundation, and we were looking to the current ambulance network. So if we could just put one drone in and get a pilot, and then we would do mock examples of people having incidents, and we would prove time-wise and work with the people that have asthma. We spoke to Asthma Foundation, and he said that yes, often people, it impacts their lifestyle and don't have flexibility, and that if you could just get that first initial triage situation, then that's going to be a good thing. And then we've got the impact to basically imagine we don't have to send the ambulance out, or the ambulance is on its way, but we can redirect the ambulance back because they go, I'm okay because you got me what I needed.
And is there a telehealth aspect to the drone as well?
There certainly is, but we are focusing on let's prove that it's worthwhile to have that drone go out and drop and then work out the rest of the cost savings sort of.
Sure.
Certainly you can easily attach a phone, then you've got to sort of organise the software connection. But right now, if you have a problem and someone's standing next to you, you're on your own phone. So it's really not a priority to be
Except for
integrating
maybe,
that into the drone at this
maybe
stage.
the video so you can see the clinician
Yeah.
can see. Yep. Cool. Excellent. Thanks for that. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next project is Referral AI. Welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Roy Beckley. My role is to help clinicians achieve better outcomes through digital solutions. My team and I firmly believe that augmented referral categorization will do just that. We call it Referral AI. But first of all, I want to introduce you to Betty. Betty is a typical patient that you can find in any of our hospitals. She's in her 60s, she struggles with abdominal pain, and she's got a family history of colorectal cancer. She goes to see the GP, who shares her concerns and sends off a referral for a colonoscopy. Depending on the severity of her symptoms, Betty could potentially be a category 1, 2, or 3 patient, meaning that she can wait between 30 and 365 days to be seen. Because Betty also looks after her elderly husband, who is having a full hip replacement, Betty really needs to know when she can expect to be seen. She is quite worried, adding stress to an already stressful situation. Betty needs certainty, but the problem is that it can take weeks, if not months, for her to find out when she'll be seen. And because Betty is only one of 150,000 referrals that Queensland Health receives each month, we want to make sure that referral categorization is accurate, consistent, and timely. Hospitals are equally frustrated and they want a better solution. And more importantly, our clinicians tell us that they spend countless hours trawling through referral after referral, time that could be better spent looking after patients like Betty. We are already making great strides in terms of how we are managing our referral process, but we have found a solution which will further enhance and continue to reduce the referral time, potentially from months to milliseconds. Through artificial intelligence, we can retrieve valuable information that is otherwise difficult to detect and use without significant manual effort, meaning our clinical resources. The solution compares the referral information against categorization criteria, that is, our CPCs, to determine clinical priority. This is presented to the clinician who can review and validate the category that's reducing time spent while improving accuracy. We use a standard-based approach which is simple to integrate using off-the-shelf components which is easy to maintain and improve. We estimate that around 18 million referrals are sent in Australia each year. This number is increasing. At a national level, that means that we have hundreds and hundreds of full-time equivalent clinicians solely dedicated to categorizing referrals. With our solution, in the first stage, we estimate that we can redeploy between 3 and 5 clinicians back to patient care at each hospital site. We have the team and the expertise. We have clinical buy-in, and we have a viable problem that we need to solve. We have the technology, and we believe that we can develop a prototype that's working within 3 months. Betty's ready, and we are ready. Thank you.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. The question that I have is in relation to the cost of development remaining. So you've mentioned 3 months. What is the budget that you're looking at to get this product launched and operational?
So initially we are looking at probably about a $100,000 investment over the 3 months to be able to come up with a working prototype that we can test within a clinical environment.
And how are you going to do that, the analysis? Like, do you have a gold standard where you're going to compare the results to versus, how are you going to do that comparison of new versus old system?
We will probably be working with clinical specialties. So like I said, we already have clinical buy-in to do some current comparisons to set up a baseline and compare that with the solution afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Referral AI. So the next team is Circular Hospitals. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Greg Mello. Thank you. I'm a health economist from QT, and I want to talk to you today about circular hospitals. So here we go. So I spent some time recently in hospital with my son. He had had a hernia operation. It was fine, but he noticed all the different sorts of waste going into different bins and the different color bins, and he said, "Hey, Dad," he always says it like that, "what do they do with all the rubbish?" And as a health economist, I went, "Hey, good on you, good question." But I didn't know. 'Cause the thing is, currently in hospitals, we have what you would call a linear waste economy, where you go from, it's this process of take, make, use, dispose, and pollute, where you, at each point in the value chain, you're losing value from resources that you could be reclaimed that are just going into the waste. And the thing about waste is it's not just waste, it's also harm to humans and to the environment, and it also leads to depletion of economic wealth. So that's why we'd like to apply the concepts of the circular economy to reduce hospital waste, generate benefits for environment, human health, economic and social. Because the future is a circular economy. We want to use these principles to save money, resources, and lives. And so we've worked through multiple solutions. There are short-term solutions, things that are proven and implementable that we can do now. And then there are longer-term ones where we need to be working with technology to develop technological solutions. And then there are the long-term ones, the ones where we're trying to drive and manage value creation across health, things like standards and digital waste monitoring and management systems, so that, because if you don't monitor it, you don't know what's happening. So in terms of the short-term things, these are things that have already been proven and demonstrable, including using food waste to generate revenue from electricity and compost, and reusing plastic waste. And then there's the medium term. This is one we're quite keen on, because it's such the hard case that if we can demonstrate effectiveness here, we can demonstrate it anywhere. So one hospital, we got an estimate of $360,000 per year just spent on the disposal of sharps waste alone. And so you can see what happens if you extend that to all the hospitals. So sharps waste are expensive. They cost 12 times the amount of general waste, 3 times the amount of clinical waste. There's lots of cross-contamination, and there's high value in the waste. There's actually materials that we can extract. We're not talking about reusing needles here. We're talking about other things that are in the sharps bin that we can get out. But humans can't handle it, and that's why we need a technological solution. So we want to be using the sorts of technologies that are currently used at Amazon and for airports to monitor, sort, and reclaim the high-value waste from these bins. And you can see the potential. These technologies are getting cheaper every day. So one estimate we had today was $30,000 to $60,000. So if you compare that to the 3,600, there's a huge benefit. So I want you to come on this journey with us, so that we can lead to. Yeah. Anyway, I forgot.
Thank you so much. That was great. Just a question though, in terms of you ran through obviously the short-term and medium-term focus. I guess what we're sort of really interested in is that digital opportunity. So I'm really interested in terms of the costs that would be associated to implement something of that nature.
I can't tell you yet. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. But I agree. I think that's the long-term thing because we can't. Currently, it's invisible, the cost of the waste itself. So, implementing that.
So I think most of it at the moment gets burned, right? That's the way.
Sorry?
Most of the rubbish, this sort of rubbish, gets incinerated at the moment.
Yes, it gets incinerated. Yes.
And the part of the reason for that is a safety reason that no one handles it. It just goes straight in the bin. So you need to even think about the early handling, how you undo the thing and pour it out onto something for the robotics to look at and the whole pathway. And do you have an estimate of how much you can pull out?
How much we can put out?
How much waste can you reduce?
So this would be not just the robots, this would be taking a full hospital-wide approach, but one estimate we found from a hospital, they were able to reduce 70 to 80% of their waste. I don't know if, yeah.
And how much would be able to, how much of that is the
But a lot of that is, and that involves a full culture change as well,
Right.
yeah.
So no, you don't have an estimate for how much is the robotics part?
Sorry, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
great.
Thanks.
Off to MedCheck.
Thank you. My team told me I should wear the right colour shirt to suit the slides. My name's Aaron, I'm from Logan Hospital, and I want to talk to you about Rita. Now, I saw Rita in emergency department about 8 hours after she was admitted, and the doctor at the time of admission didn't know what medication she was really taking. So when I came onto the ward, I asked Rita. She didn't really know what she was taking. I asked the family. They didn't know what she was taking. So using my health record, I was able to find out one GP and one community pharmacy. Now, going to the GP, I give them a phone call, golden standard, and I receive a medication list via fax. And then I ring up the community pharmacy. Turns out she doesn't go to one community pharmacy, but she goes to many community pharmacies. So using a bit of detective work, I've been able to find an accurate medication list between 5 different sheets of paper. Now, so after all my reconciliation, I've managed to find a medication error. Now, we've managed to fix that medication error, except that's taken me 1.5 hours of my time, 12 phone calls. And because of that, she is now she's just one of a $1.2 billion problem. But also to that too, she's only one story of the 230,000 people that we see in Australian hospitals each year. So what can we do to try and reduce the chance of her having a medication error? So I was looking for a solution, but I couldn't find anything that was Australian market, non-commercial, that was clinician-facing, and something that required me to type manually just to put my medication in. So that's why we come up with the idea of MedAssist. So essentially, it's a patient-facing app, but with a clinician-facing portal. So Rita's able to look at her medication list based on a QR code that it's been generated by our discharge list record. So it's an electronic list, but the biggest difference here is using a QR code, old technology, new application. We have a clinician-facing portal that, with a bit of AI, starts the reconciliation process. So with that, I'm able to start to highlight medications that are different strengths, so maybe there's duplication there. Anything that has different instructions as well. So I know that I can get the right medication at the right time, preventing an error from happening. So even if we apply this technology and we only have a 0.5% impact in that 1.2 billion, that's still $6 million. So what we are asking is for the opportunity to have a proof of concept within a HHS to put a QR code on a discharge list, and then she'll be able to share it. Not only that, she'll be able to edit it, but also if she has one and she chooses, she can upload to the My Health record and improve the data integrity because she cares about her health. And if she doesn't have one, that's okay, because then we are giving her agency over her health record. Thank you. Oh, that's right, sorry. And we got a working sort of prototype after 2 days. Go scan that out.
Thanks for the great presentation. One of the questions that comes to mind for me is around whether the patient will actually utilise the application if it's available. Can you talk through what market research you've done from a patient perspective?
From a patient perspective, a lot of baby boomers are very much interested in trying to manage their own health. So, because in the end of the day, they want to maintain their independence. So we know that. Also too, they're actually one of the biggest markets for the uptake of smartphone technology. Australia is one of the biggest markets for uptake of smartphone technology. mHealth, I actually, thanks David also too, I completed CHEER. It's really good to know. With that too, so that's one of the target audiences because they're more likely to have more than 4 regular medications. But also too, wouldn't it be nice if they could easily share that with their kids? Like, I don't know what my mum takes, and I've been trying all these other applications, and it's so hard to try to share that so that if in case of emergency, I can just easily send that across. So definitely the target audience is more so the people who are more likely to pick up this type of technology. Plus, on top of that, our current discharge medication lists, it's a piece of paper to the patient. So if I give you a three-page discharge list and I say, guard this with your life because this is all your medication you take, what's the likelihood that I'm going to lose it? But again, if I turn this into a health passport, suddenly, I have another opportunity to keep track of my medications.
Just checking on the innovation here, which is, because I think, you've picked out some apps which are already there, and then we've got My Health Record and lots of other things. I think the difference I'm seeing here is around the QR code on the discharge summary, which anything can scan and potentially can go into any app. Is that the kind of where you're aiming, or is it the app at the end?
It's a sort of a two-prong approach. It's being able to give the patient an ability to easily update their medication list without having to type it all in manually in free text fields. Codification.
Right.
So the idea is a two-prong approach being, one, yes, QR code to help easily share that information across, so that even if I go to a GP in between the time that they've received the GP summary, they can sort of give that to to the GP QR code scanner and being able to update that straight away and sort of being able to see straight away in their front of their face in their 10-minute conversation what changes to the medications has occurred. But also too, the biggest thing is also the reconciliation for the clinician side. I couldn't find anything that helped start the reconciliation process. I found many things that go on list, but it didn't. So that's the idea of trying to start that reconciliation through. And that is what will incorporate into time saving for the clinician and also reduce the medication error.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, MedCheck. So we're about halfway through, so we've got 5 more to go. So I'd like to introduce Midas.
This is Ray. Ray's 65 years old. He lives in Los Angeles. He was rushed to hospital with symptoms of a possible stroke. When he got to hospital, he was sent straight to the CT room. He had multiple CT scans and some other tests. Doctors determined he did in fact have a stroke, so he was admitted to hospital. Ray made a full recovery from that stroke, so he was discharged. But his problems didn't end there. When he got home, he developed a skin rash and his hair started to fall out. 6 months later, Ray got a letter from the hospital advising there was an issue with the CT scans he'd received, and he'd received a radiation dose 8 times higher than was expected. He's now at an increased risk of brain cancer. Ray was not alone. This actually happened in the United States. It affected more than 400 patients across 8 hospitals, and it took more than a year for those hospitals to identify that these overdoses were occurring.
Hi, my name's Tim. And it's my job to understand how something like this can happen for over a year without people seeing it. It's also my job to make sure that this doesn't happen to people in Queensland. The good news is I can do both of those things. So what happened here? The issue is that there's a very complex piece of machinery delivering radiation dose to this patient, and you can't see or hear or taste radiation. So in order to determine if you've made the right radiation dose, you actually have to rely on a lot of data in the background. Now the good thing here is we've got a lot of data in the background. The bad thing is we've got too much. This is all manually processed by people, so it's actually impossible to give a timely response to any sort of question about did you deliver the right radiation dose. The other issue that we have is that our information silos are all disparate, and we need to connect those so that we can make the best use of them. So I'd like to introduce MIDAS, which is a medical imaging data analytics system. This is going to bring these data sources together and perform all those manual analysis tasks automatically so that we can get timely data to the people who need it. So I'd like to give you our solutions roadmap for MIDAS. In the first instance, all we want to do is take the data that's already sitting there and the analysis that's already happening, and we want to automate that and give it to people quickly. The second stage is bringing in data that we know would be valuable but we don't currently access, and we want to perform more intense analysis so that we can get better information. The third stage is bringing in things like machine learning so that we can predict when things are going to happen, and we can resolve those before they become clinical issues. So the value of a solution like this is that we get better vision. We can now see things that were previously invisible to us in the medical imaging department. It's going to provide us active assurance of our clinical and technical performance of our systems, and it's going to give us a platform to facilitate quality improvement within Queensland. This means that someone in Townsville now knows whether they're delivering a greater dose than someone at the Royal Brisbane, or whether someone at the PA is delivering less dose than the Gold Coast. Someone at the Sunshine Coast University Hospital can develop a novel procedure with a lower radiation dose, and they can tell people in Toowoomba. If we could just reduce our radiation dose by 10% in our 20 most common exams, this would be the equivalent of gaining 240 quality of life adjusted years. And if I was a pharmacist trying to sell you drugs, I'd say that's worth $16 million. So the thing is, it's not about how much money we're saving. When we're talking about money saving, we're also saving resources. So we're taking all of those people who are manually processing all this data in all of their HHSs, and we're doing it automatically now. So we're going to be able to reduce equipment downtime with predictive maintenance and automate regulatory and quality reporting. So very quickly, we actually have a prototype of this solution. So we can do some of the data collection and some of the presentation. We just need a team of dedicated resources to take this from a prototype to something that we can put into practice. We need your help to make sure what happened to Ray in the US doesn't happen to anyone in Queensland. Thank you.
I wanna dance by underneath the Mexican sky.
Thank you so much. I'm interested where you got the 10% reduction from. So you started off talking about, I guess, an adverse event that happened with a set of patients.
Mm-hmm.
So why the 10%? Are you advising that we've got a 10% problem with the...
No, it's a magnitude thing. Why do we use 10%? It's just an indicator. If you were able to reduce it by 20%, you would double that quality adjusted life improvement, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but I'm interested with why. You can double anything, but it's about why are we actually doing something? Why do we need to invest in that? So I understand that we've got, clinical adverse events that are occurring, and that's where you're trying to focus. But is it then taking that data and saying that we need to prevent those incidents from occurring? And then why else are we saying that we want to do less in terms of exposing people to radiation and what that looks like?
Yeah, good question. So one benefit of something like MIDAS is that you will reduce radiation incidents from, say, equipment malfunction. The other benefit is the quality improvement side of things, which is that you can focus on reducing dose in other areas that aren't necessarily a risk, but you can make it better. Yep, awesome, thank you.
I've been asked to come back on stage again. Apparently people can't see me. So I feel like a jack in the box because I'm here for like 2 seconds. But anyway, thank you, Team Midas. I'd just like to point out, remember the names of these teams because you'll need to know them when you're looking for the voting at the end. So, and they've got some funky names like Distraction Attack and Midas and stuff. So here's another team with a funky name, Lockdown.
to talk to you about hospital avoidance for the correctional patient. My name is Paul Kemp. I'm the clinical nurse consultant at Woodford Correctional Centre, and this is Paul Baker, nurse practitioner at Westmoreton's Prison Health Services. This is Lawrence. Lawrence is a 35-year-old male experiencing chest pain in the public. And this is his patient flow. For Lawrence, he gets to call 000, an ambulance arrives, he gets taken to ED, he gets triaged, they take blood tests, his family and friends are there to help him, and then after a short while he gets discharged home. Now, this is Wade. Wade's a 36-year-old correctional patient experiencing chest pain, and this is his patient flow. He doesn't get to call 000, he doesn't get to go freely to the hospital, he gets transported by correctional officers, he's surrounded, he's in ED, and he's on show, and he no longer looks human.
But what if we could challenge the current status quo? What if we could get rid of all these costs and complexities in that box and replace it with just one? One that says Wade is assessed and treated at home and he's cleared of a coronary event safely and properly. Correctional centres right now are a paper-based system with little or no innovative technology. I want to throw this system out. That patient flow is costly. We've listed some of the costs of 2 months of one emergency department in this state, and the costs that we've come up with of patients that are returned within 6 hours to the correctional centre are $508,000. We believe our system can get that done just as safely, 50% cheaper. Let's challenge the current status quo. Let's develop a new and innovative system. Let's create a virtual health clinic using a new innovative model of care, especially in the minor injury and illness space, and solve potentially dangerous diagnoses prior to arrival at the emergency department. Relieve already stretched resources at EDs and QAS. This can set up foundations for other virtual clinics like virtual fracture clinics, get some 3D printing to make the casts for immobilisation. And the other thing that's perfectly obvious is how this could be deployed into other areas of isolated practice. So invest in our infrastructure, invest in developing our staff, and invest in creating virtual clinics. But it's not just about saving money, right? It's about treating our patients with dignity and respect. It's about allowing our patients to stay in their homes for as much of their care as possible. It's their home. It's our responsibility to care for our patients at the standard that we would want to be cared for. This helps us all. This helps our emergency departments access people who really require care. It improves the health outcomes of all of our patients. Towns with populations like this could also have this model deployed quickly and strategically. Why not use us as a test case? So help us care for all of our patients.
Thanks for the very engaging presentation. I love the paper throw at the beginning. The question I had was in relation to your comment about, or your request to invest in your resources and the infrastructure to enable this solution to become a reality. What type of investment are you looking for from an infrastructure standpoint to get one site off the ground, and also the investment required from a resource investment?
So we're looking for an innovative way to combine some existing technology that we have. We have telehealth that's available, but in reality, it's a Skype channel. We need the way to combine telehealth with IEMR, and we need point of care testing combined with it as well, and create a virtual fracture clinic where we can take x-rays so that this system becomes one. That's what we need to create. And then we can set up the health clinics out in one test site, and we can prove cost effectiveness for that within our 12 months.
And do you have an estimated budget for that?
We've been engaging with some of our stakeholders, including allowing corrective services to assist us with some of the infrastructure costs because they own the buildings. We have to engage with them to provide that service. So some of the costs you'd expect would be the buildings that power and even the X-ray machines might be supplied in that. What we need to concentrate on is getting the telehealth equipment up to spec so that we can use it to have a virtual clinic so we can contact the ED, have the consultant on call and have them make the call with the patient so that we can treat that person there in our health centres so that we're not causing this major drain on the system, which just for one emergency department we highlighted, which was the PA. So those were actual figures from March and April of the patients that returned within 6 hours. So if we can just reduce those costs, which we believe we can.
Thanks, Team Lockdown. You could hear the real pain and, I suppose, operational frustration within that project. The next project we've got is the simulators. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Andrew and I'm from eHealth based in Rockhampton. Good health improves life satisfaction and allows people to enjoy a productive and active life. And if interventions are made at the right time in the right way, we can work to shift the burden from disease and make Queensland the leading healthy state. I'd like to introduce you to Karen. This is my mum, by the way. Karen is 71, retired. She retired at 65, she's widowed, lives alone, and she worked as a nurse for 48 years. Her ailments include high blood pressure, diabetes type 2, sleep apnea, and she had a hip replacement recently. Her top quotes include, "No one lives forever," and "I've earned the right to do what I want and to be left alone." We know from the 2018 CHO report that older people, 65 years and above, make up to 1 in 7 of our population, and that the average visit to their GP for Karen's age group on average is 8 visits per year. How might we make it easier for information from wearables to be collected and shared between patients, carers and doctors? The eHealth Queensland Expo tag for 2019 is Create, Connect, Care. We have embraced these over the last 2 days, and we have been creating and jamming on ways to help people like Karen. We have formed connections with each other and reached out to GPs, to CSIRO, and technical experts because we care about our problem. What is our problem? There are a lot of wearable devices that capture similar types of data. These devices need a platform that allows them to collect and share that data. We know the majority of current wearables are consumer grade and not suitable for medical use. However, these devices provide users with real-time information which allows them to make wellness choices. Have they taken enough steps today? Pharos. Pharos was the first lighthouse. Lighthouses are then and now a beacon and a warning of danger and a guide to readjust your course. So we have created the Pharos platform. The people we've spoken to have said that they would prefer the information to go to themselves or to their carer. The patient receives their data. In regards to wellness, they're owning their own health outcomes, and a carer or GP receives risk indicators. Decisions on who gets what is always the patient's decision. We spoke to Dr. Teo, a community physician and health technologist, who said that this idea makes for a smoother consult and gives more information to better engage the patient. Patients can choose to share their data with their carers and GPs, providing the GPs the opportunity to identify trend issues and focus on preventative health care. Ferris can also help bridge the possible gaps between metro and rural by providing the opportunity to access information. Potential partners include eHealth Queensland, Queensland Health CSIRO. We were able to pitch our idea to Jing from the CSIRO. Jing said that this is a great idea and aligns with their wearable and non-wearable project and would be excited to collaborate, share information, research learnings with Queensland Health. We want to explore and work with potential partners to develop a plan. We're interested in speaking to the Coalition of the Willing. Our ask, this idea is worth more time. We have just scratched the surface. We would like to explore further with our GPs, carers, patients, and also technology leaders in development of the Ferris platform. People like Karen have the opportunity to own their health outcomes and wellness choices. Thank you.
Great. So often it's the worried well or the people who are interested in their own health who track these things and give data to their doctors, etc. How do you think you'd incentivise the people who probably need it more to be doing that sort of thing?
Well, we were originally talking about if people wanted to share their data, then maybe we could, offer them incentives with like movie vouchers and things like that. But when I actually spoke to someone who cares for her mother and her husband, that was really not. She was more interested in the idea, and she didn't need what's it called, a donkey on a. And she didn't need. I was going to say a donkey on a stick, whatever that is. Carrot on a stick, or a donkey.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Team Assimilators. Our second last team to present is Layla Lifesavers.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and panel. My name's Helen. I'm a clinician, but I'm here, like many of you will be or are, as a patient. I want to just thank my awesome team over there, but most importantly, I want to introduce you to Layla. So Layla could be you. She could be the person sitting next to you. She could be one of your loved family or friends. She's any Australian. In this case, Layla, at about 25, would have been rocking to that music. She was healthy, she was fit, she was in a profession, she was pretty stressed, but life was going well for her. She was of normal weight. By 45, she's got a couple of chronic health conditions, and sadly, she's obese. By 55 years, you can see she's on her second hip replacement, but she's now in the normal health weight range. She's dieted many times over many years. She's lost and gained hundreds of kilograms. Maybe she's even had bariatric surgery. Who knows? So, the problem that our group is presenting is the absolute epidemic, which is growing in Australia and globally, of obesity and chronic disease. If you look at this slide, if everyone was in the normal weight range, the disease burden in Australia would be reduced by these kinds of percentages. Diabetes, 53%, stroke, 22%, chronic kidney disease, 38%. So for those of you who work in dollars, what are we talking about? This is just one slide. It's probably conservative because the stats are 2015. $8.3 billion spent on were the costs of obesity in Australia at that time. Let's project that a year, 5 years, 15 years, 50 years. The burden on our health system, the dollar costs are just astronomical. And yet, there are so many solutions out there. You type in diet into Mr. Google, ask Dr. Google, and he'll give you 1 million diets. He'll give you opportunities for plastic surgeons, for bariatric surgeons, for all sorts of things. So there's solutions that work, and yet obesity is still growing. Why is that? fact, sadly, our project group is at the definition stage. We don't have the solution to this major problem. We wish we did. So what we'd like to do is to measure the impact of this. We want to begin to collate current research, including the data from the successful dieters, from those who've lost weight, and many of you will have lost weight, but the big question is those who've maintained that loss over a significant period of time. I'm talking 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. So, might I be Layla? Yes, I am. And this is our project owner, Lincoln, and we can groove to the music. He's lost 30 kilos and kept it off over 5 years. So that's our ask. We want to collaborate with partners to understand what works for Queenslanders and how to rock that forward. Thank you for your attention.
That was in a very impressive photo at the end. So Lincoln, I have a question for you. What is your secret to your weight loss and keeping it off for 5 years?
Years and years of failure, and then I found a diet that worked for me. I lost 25 kilos in a very short period of time. I then stuck for 18 months because I missed another key. I found that key, and I lost another 10 in 8 weeks. Got down to the weight I am now from 6 to 65 kilos. I was 100. It's a low-carb, ketogenic type diet, some intermittent fasting. Very controversial, and without the data, it's not going to move forward. 95% of people fail. They fail because they're hungry. I'm not. There may be other reasons out there. Let's understand why why the 5% succeed. At the moment we're measuring it, it's growing 2 or 3% a year. Massive impact on the budget.
Thank you, Layla Saves Lives. Now the final team is Emerged. Please come here. Please give them a last big round of applause. I just want to say that we are probably running a little bit behind time, so please stick around. We will be done soon.
This is Iris, and I met Iris last week when she came to emergency with chest pain. My name is Anthony, and I'm a junior doctor at the Royal Brisbane. And at 82, Iris is amazing. She told me she hadn't needed the services of the Royal since 18 when she had appendicitis. She told me her chest pain had now gone, she was feeling better, and that she wanted to go home. And I wanted to help her get home, but her tests were still pending. There were other patients and other jobs too. Every time I'd walk by, I'd stop, find a computer, log in, and look. I felt frustrated. I needed to keep stopping, refreshing for her results, and later when her results were back, I had no idea they were ready until I checked. She was now fine to go home, but maybe I hadn't seen her results quick enough. Maybe another patient might have been offloaded from an ambulance ramp sooner. Maybe the nurses could have known faster she was ready to go home. Maybe I could have seen Iris's care flow had slowed down. Meanwhile, the ambulances ramped more, the department got fuller. Our team found that 30 minutes of Iris's 3 hours was what we call potential time. That's potential FaceTime with Iris, potential time with the next Iris, potential time at home for Iris. Iris's journey is not unique. She is part of 1.5 million ED presentations in Queensland. Iris's slowdown equates to about almost 800,000 hours in Queensland alone. Clinicians multitask, But slowdowns impact this. How can we integrate with current systems to transform a patient's journey? How can we see the potential time? We know data from the statewide electronic medical record has been used before to create dashboards to help workflow and productivity in specialist areas. Emerge is a platform that uses real-time tracking and data aggregation from several existing systems to highlight the moment a patient's journey stalls. Our concept is a productivity tool that pulls information from, based on existing data standards. It doesn't break workflow. It takes key information, empowers me and decision makers to make timely decisions. Doctors and nurses can walk into a clinical space and instantly see what is outstanding. It saves time from constantly logging in, checking and chasing. And when there is a delay, it empowers everyone to act. The patient flow blocks emerge from the workflow. We don't know the roadmaps of other systems working in hospital planning and productivity, but our innovation in this space is a scalable solution that can and will greatly improve value-based care. Our main interface is geared towards frontline staff, but powerful analytical tools behind it can begin to empower patient flow strategy teams and act when broader issues emerge. Emerge can bridge the knowledge gap between the individual patient flow and the wider system in a single interface. We have some partners already, but we're looking for a sponsor, solutions architect, and Queensland Health to help make this happen, so that the next time Iris asks if she's ready to go home, I can say yes.
Here we go. So a quick question then. So you're getting all the data out of a couple of different systems and working out when Iris can go home, so you can get her out of there earlier.
It's about, so we're about sort of value adding to the current workflows and about trying to highlight that potential time. We pull that data out from the various data sources, and then when the patient is ready to go, we're trying to minimise and help clinicians prioritise their time. When I see the radiology results, pathology results, her consults are back, I know that she's ready for the next step of her care process.
Yep. But it's that last step of actually going, yeah, I think we can get you out of here, which is a bit of a blocker sometimes, right? That's what you're saying. If I got everything, or it steps all the way through the process.
All the way through the process. So Iris is, so we've changed names and everything for Iris, but last week I went through the emergency department and I used a tool to time every single interaction for Iris. So things like from when she first came onto the ambulance ramp to between the ramp to getting into a bed and for waiting in the bed for a clinician to come, the time between the lamps and tube to registration of those blood tests, the time between putting in the order form for an X-ray for her to get an X-ray, sort of all of those times. And most pertinently, for example, when all of her results were back and clinicians were doing something else because last time they checked, they weren't back. And they didn't know they were back, and I didn't know it was back either, so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to give the judges some time to get themselves sorted and come up with some winners. So we're just going to fill some time. So you do have the People's Choice voting. So think about all the presentations you've heard, whether it's a catchy name, a great presenter, you love the idea or the concept. It doesn't really matter with the criteria about what you're voting. You might just like the person. Vote. So we're just really keen on getting a People's Choice Award and get your opinion on what you heard. So we'll give you some time to do that. And we will show you those results live as you start doing that. And in the meantime, I will talk a little bit about what I think I heard. So there was 10 teams there presented. You could see the richness in the thinking that they've done over the last couple of days. I do know some of those people. I've seen them at previous events, and that was really good to see them continue on this journey of innovation, because you do need a core group of people that are involved with this area. But the presentations themselves, they were wide covering of problems that were Queensland Health operational problems. And we're trying to have a look at a different frame of reference around how we can solve these problems. So I think all those projects in some way articulated that, and the brief that we gave them around thinking about the customer journey and the customer experience. So when you're voting, please just think about also, did this team come up with a different idea about how we see this problem every day? But actually that was a novel idea. So we already get trending pretty well down the bottom there, team number 10. How do you vote? It's through the app we talked about at the start. So through the eHealth Queensland event app, you'll see, we can go back to those slides, yes. So if you don't have the app, but within the Innovation Jam section, you will see a voting tool, a survey tool. That's okay. Into the program, thank you. Program, Innovation Jam, and the survey link should be there. Okay, while that's continuing, we might just put the survey link up again just to see how we're tracking. Emerge is doing really well there. We will take this away. You won't see the final result until we announce it, but we're getting some good votes there, 180 odd, great. All right, what else can I talk about? Maybe go to the next slide. A few thank yous. So we got a bit of a trend there. Okay, so really I just wanted to say a few thank yous. As I said before, these events don't happen without the support and I suppose influence and drive from people working in the innovation sector. And there's a couple of startups that we'd really love to call out that have actually contributed to this event. So Cognium, and we'd like to thank Robert Bowerig and Zoe Zavik for being involved there. Thank you. WeGo GP with Ross Hadfield. Thank you. With Net Health, we've got Vidya Nalamad. And as well, we just want to thank Alan Robertson from Clear Sky. And I know Alan, and Clear Sky is a name I'm familiar with. That was the Hacking Health winner back in 2015. So thanks, Alan, for being involved. And we'd also just like to thank our subject matter experts and other people, volunteers, everyone that's made this Innovation Jam possible. There's lots of people that sit around these events that provide advice, support, etc. And a special thanks to the Clinical Skills Development Service for their assistance in sourcing the problems. So we had a whole process around going out to Queensland Health to say, what problems are we dealing with? Okay, now we need to thank the team from eHealth Queensland, the innovation team. Frederick, Cara, Maria, Carl and Melanie. They've done a wonderful job. They're very distinctive in their black shirts. I notice I've got a blue one, so must be a sort of a ranking system there, is it? Well done, guys. It is really hard to do these events and pull everyone together. It's like herding cats, and I think a few people know in this front row about that. And I think also, look, I'd just like to reflect a little bit. Yeah, we've still got some votes going. How are we doing over there, judges? Yeah. You good? Oh, right, well, that's wonderful. I was saying to people before, how long the judges got to vote, and they said 5 minutes, and I did a Hacking Health once in this particular venue, an hour and a half. But obviously we had gap between that, which allowed that, but it was quite stressful. Okay, Narelle, I think I know it gets you to come up here if that's okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Who am I giving this to? Oh, am I taking this? Oh, right, okay. I don't know. Okay. So People's Choice Award, have we finished voting? Have we closed the voting, Frederick? We're all closed? How do you want to announce this? Do you want to just put it up on the board? Oh, it's got to be emerged. Oh, so- No. You're shaking the hands. You're the official. Okay, who's emerged? I think it's Anthony and the team. All the team come up, please. So while you'll get to see everybody in the team, so it's not just the person who presents, right? Everybody's done work here. So go over and see Narelle, guys. All the way up. And there'll be a photo op over there as well. Congratulations. Wonderful. Thank you, guys. So that's team emerged. They're probably hoping they're going to be up here again, but let's see how we go. Our next awards are with QUT Foundry. Have provided some awards, a prize pack to boost entrepreneurial and startup potential, including free tickets, mentor sessions, etc., with IP attorneys and startup mentors. I just need to know who won that. Can we welcome up Team Drones? Just stay for the photo op. You done that? Yep. Wonderful. Thank you, QUT Foundry, and welcome Team Drones. Our next one is Oracle have supported this event, and they're providing one session of ideation support for a non-metro hospital and health service. Okay, thank you. So our winner there is MedCheck. Now, I was really worried about 10 minutes ago that we were going to be here till about 3:20, but it is 5 to 3 and we're just about to announce the winning team. So just to say what the prize is again, so it's a team trophy based on our judges' scores, but also first prize team, for best team gets the Australian Health Accelerator awarded by Narelle as a boot camp. So that's a pretty good prize, and I think just the acknowledgement of the idea in a big event like this. Can we welcome Referral AI to the stage, please? So, we done? Ah, cool. Sorry. They want your certificates. Just don't go away. Okay, so look, just final parting comments. I just wanted to say that I'm very honoured to be part of this event, and thank you, eHealth Queensland, for inviting me to be part of it. I think we got through it well. It's always a little bit hard with 10 teams presenting for 4 minutes with music and stuff, but that went really well. And well done, judges, for very quick decision making. You're known for that. So let's get everybody from Innovation Jam that's participated on the stage. Both volunteers, mentors, teams, everybody. This is a photo op. Just to come up, and I want everybody else who hasn't been involved and watched today, just to give these guys a bit of a clap. It's been 2 days of massive effort. And we're in your hands, photographers. So if we could just sort of line up sort of tall people at the back, smaller people at the front. We want lots of Innovation Jam shirts in front of everybody. Keep coming, guys. There's room over the other side. Oh. Okay, photographers, over to you. What's going to be the catch cry? What word? Innovation? Innovate. Okay, let's innovate. Innovate. Are we all good?